My brother told me to put a shirt on. Now, my brother's a gay man. He has his own story about bodies and what it means to be seen and becoming who you truly are. But when he said, "Whoa, bro, you can't be looking like that and be my brother," it landed differently. And I swelled with pride on the inside. I want to tell you a story about the man that I almost became. And I was really close to becoming that man, and much closer than you would believe looking at me now. But let's go back to that comment in my brother's kitchen. Not because of what he said, but because what that comment meant. There are things you start to notice. Little things. Pants fitting slightly looser, or that t-shirt that you like fits tighter in certain places than it used to. It's not major, and it's not something you could point to if someone asked. But I'd noticed. And standing there in my brother's house and getting that comment, I had justification. If you're going through a divorce right now, or you've come out on the other side of it, and there aren't any more weekly lawyer meetings and every other week court appearances, you're just in that part where the days are just ticking over, nothing much is happening, and you're kind of in this limbo state. I know how that feels. So before we carry on with any on this, I just want to say something to you. That feeling you're feeling isn't weakness. That is just what this amount of pressure, tension, and increased levels of cortisol does to a person. And the question isn't why you're here. The question becomes, what do we do from here? Here's what most people think this video is about. Fitness, gym, getting your body back after you've had a couple of hard years. That's not what this is. This video is about what you become when nobody's watching and whether you get to have any say in that. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the psychologist and author of the book Flow, speaks of psychic entropy. And the idea is that the mind, if left alone, will always trend towards entropy or chaos. Always. It'll never stay static. And that slow collapse in divorce is very similar to that, because it's not a decision. It's just what happens when you stop fighting against it. Most men in divorce don't collapse in a dramatic fashion with a song and dance. It's more slow. It's more insipid. Because it's harder to see, and because of that, it's harder to stop. It never announces itself. It just sort of becomes the new normal. The man you're becoming by doing nothing isn't a neutral outcome. He's a specific person. And you need to start picturing what that specific person looks like before you can start to do anything to change it. Here's what was available to me. The average dad bod father who drinks away his weekends, who's unintentional about his life, who lets days happen to him instead of doing something with them. The man who just goes with the flow in the river of life instead of marking a point on the bank and plotting his way towards that. The divorce tried to make me into that man. And for the longest time, it almost did. The thing is, for you to become that man, you don't have to do anything. It happens automatically. You just have to do nothing, and you'll become that man day by day. So picture it. Picture what it would actually look like if you did nothing for 3 years. You just let go. And this isn't punishment. This is just information, because you can't choose to deny that person until you've looked that person in the face. And the man who does nothing, the man who gets taken by the current, he's not the worst case scenario. He is the default. The divorce will try and tell you who you are, and it only gets to do that if you let it. So if you've pictured that man you'll become in 3 years and you don't like what you see, I'm starting a dad's group in 2 weeks for men who've had a look at that, decided it's not what they want, and they're ready to act. The details are in the description. So that's the guy that I almost became. But here's what no one tells you about how to change that. Every man in this situation is waiting for that moment when they decide it's time to change. The moment they decide enough is enough and this is the line in the sand. And I'm sorry to tell you, that moment isn't coming. And waiting for it is the most expensive thing you can do with your time right now. So where did it change for me? Not what you'd expect. I certainly didn't set out to become some gym bro or the person that my brother told to cover up. I didn't have that picture in my mind of who I wanted to be. But every time I went to the gym, that voice in my head started getting quieter. So I leaned into that. And once a week became twice. And twice a week became 4 times. Not because that's who I wanted to become, but that was what I needed in the hour. And then all of a sudden, when I looked up, that's who I'd become. You don't need a vision. You need a tomorrow morning. Pick one thing. Something physical, something private, something that is just for you and has nothing to do with the divorce. And do it. Not because it's going to solve everything, but because it is the everything. Done once, then again, then again. Because identity doesn't announce itself. It accumulates quietly. But here's the problem with that. How do you know if it's happening? How do you know if those Tuesday mornings are having any effect? Most men can't answer that, so they stop. They assume that if they can't see if anything's happening, then nothing must be happening. But it doesn't work like that. It's in those Tuesday mornings, in the reps that no one sees, in the pants that are slightly loose or that t-shirt that fits a little bit tighter than it used to be before. It's in that little thing that you don't want to admit to yourself just quite yet. And then there is no announcement. There is no notification. You don't wake up one morning and know. But at some point, your brother tells you to put a shirt on. Or you walk past the mirror and you notice something you hadn't noticed before and you think, oh, it's been happening all along. I just haven't known where to look for it. Stop looking for the arrival, for the glow up. It's not coming. What is coming is accumulation. Slow, steady, deliberate. Like a glacier, unremarkable until one day it isn't. Let this divorce crystallize your intention. Things happen little by little and then all at once. Trust the Tuesday mornings. If you're at the beginning of this and don't know where to start, then the father's rights custody video linked up here is where you should start. It'll give you 5 points to consider before you even enter the courtroom. If, on the other hand, you're one of those guys that pictured themselves in 3 years' time and didn't like what they see, the Rebuild Fathers group is launching in 2 weeks. This is going to be you coming in on the ground floor. This is not a finished product. You are actively going to help build the group into what it becomes. The details are in the description. And if you're struggling, and it feels like you're drowning, and everything is too much, then there's a 15-minute Calendly link in the description below as well. Reach out. Book a time with me. You don't have to carry this alone. Let's have a conversation and let's see where you can start getting your life back. This divorce has tried to decide who you were. It doesn't get to do that. What you do tomorrow morning does.